Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening for you joining me. And today we're on Daf 21. We're going to dive straight in, and I hope you all had a meaning for Yom Kippur. And yes, let's dive in. So it says, in any case, the statement of Rabbi Zeiri remains difficult. What is the significance of pinching a dead bird? Rabbi said, same explanation, and likewise he does when he pinches. He cuts the spinal column and the neck bone without a majority of the surrounding flesh, and then he pinches the simonim. The Gemara relates, when Rabbi Zeiri was sent from Babylon to Eretz Yisrael, he found Rabbi Ami sitting and saying this halacha that Zeiri said. And Rabbi Zeiri said to him, and how does one stand and pinch a dead bird? Rabbi Ami was astonished. Eshtomum. What's eshtomum? The meaning of the term eshtomum in the antipal conjugation in Aramaic, like the parallel conjugation in Hebrew, involves a transposition of the shin, which belongs to the root, and the tav, which is part of the conjugation. It refers to signs accompanied by thought, panic, astonishment, or anticipation of a certain development. This usually appears in Hebrew elsewhere in the Bible in the verse, and I beheld in astonishment v'yishtomem, and there was none to uphold, Isaiah 63:5, and in the verse, and I was appalled v'yishtomem, living in Daniel 6:27. For a moment, see Daniel 4:16, and thought about it, and said to Rabbi Ami, say that this is what he does. He cuts the spinal column and the neck bone without the majority of the surrounding flesh. That is also taught in a Braita. How does one pinch? Kitzad molkin. How does the priest pinch the nape of the bird offering? He cuts downward with his fingernail at the nape and cuts the spinal column and the neck bone. If the bird is a burnt offering, he then cuts both simonim and separates the head from the body. While for a sin offering, he cuts the simon of one, or he cuts one simon or the majority of one simon and does not separate the head from the body. If he cuts most of the flesh before cutting the simonim, the hazes of the animal is that of an unslaughtered carcass, and that's from the Rambam Sefer Red Hilchot Matzah Karbonet 23:7-6. The nape of the bird sin offering. He cuts the spinal column and the neck bone without a majority of the surrounding flesh until he reaches the gullet or the windpipe. Once he's reached the gullet or the windpipe, he cuts one simon or its majority, and the majority of the surrounding flesh with it. And in a burnt offering, he cuts two simonim, the majority of two simonim. The Gemara asks, who is the Tana whose opinion is cited in the Braita? If he said this is the rabbis, didn't they say that one must cut specifically two simonim and not the majority? If it's in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, doesn't he say that one must cut only a majority of the two simonim and no more? In which case, why does the Braita specify two simonim or the majority of two simonim? The Gemara answers, say that when the Braita says two, is according to the rabbis. When it says the majority of two is according to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. And if you were saying, said both this, two, and that, a majority of two are in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. And what is the meaning of two? It does not mean two simonim in their entirety. Rather, it means that one must cut a significant majority of simonim that is similar to two entire simonim. Rabbi Yehuda says that Shmuel says, if the neck bone of a person was broken and the majority of the surrounding flesh with it was cut, that person imparts impurity in a tent. A corpse imparts impurity only after death, even if both simonim were cut. If the person's neck bone was broken and the majority of the surrounding flesh was cut, he imparts impurity like a corpse, even if one of his limbs is convulsing. The same applies with regard to domesticated and undomesticated animals and birds. An animal that in that condition is considered unslaughtered carcass from that moment onward, and the slaughter is no longer effective to prevent it from imparting impurity. Rambam Sefer Kedush Hilchot Shechita 3:19, Sefer Tahora Hilchot Shahad Abatuma 2:1, and Hilchot Tumat Meis 1:15. If one is beneath the same roof with him, he becomes impure, as his halachic status is that of a corpse, even though he is still twitching. And if you say that the incident of the death of Eli, the high priest, whose death is described, and his neck bone broke and he died, in 1 Samuel 4:18, was one where the neck bone was broke without the majority of the flesh being cut, and nevertheless he died immediately. The Gemara responds, old age is different, as is written, and it came to pass, when he made him mention of the ark of God, that he fell from off his seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck broke, and he died. For he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged in Israel 40 years. 1 Samuel 4:18. Rabbi Shmuel ben Namani says that Rabbi Yochanan says, if one whipped a person like one cuts a fish, what does that mean? If a person's flesh was whipped like a fish along the length of his entire back, even one of his limbs is convulsing, his last state is that of a corpse. The same applies to animals and birds. An animal in that condition is considered unslaughtered carcass from that moment onward, and slaughter is no longer effective in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Sefer Kedusha, Hilchah Shechitin 3:19, Sefer Tahara, Hilchah Shava 2:1, Hilchah Tumas Meis 1:15. Lengthwise, and the of the whipped person is that of a corpse, even though he is still convulsing, and he imparts impurity in a tent. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak says, and that's specifically if he whipped from the back, from his back. The Gemara resumes the discussion of halacha of an animal. Shmuel says, if one rendered the animal like a shard, a gistira, animals and birds were cut in two, are deemed unslaughtered carcasses, and slaughter is no longer effective. The same halacha applies with regard to a person. If he cuts in two, he imparts impurity like a corpse, even if one of his limbs is convulsing. Roman Sefer Kedusha, Hilchah Shechitin 3:19, Sefer Tahara, Hilchah Shava 2:1, Hilchah Tumas Meis 1:15. From the Greek gastra, meaning lower section, or the belly of an earthenware receptacle. In rabbinic usage, this term refers to an earthenware vessel whose handles or any other part of the vessel broke. The term is extended to refer to any item that was injured or broken, or according to some commentaries, to any item cut in two, especially the middle of the body. By cutting it in two widthwise, its last state is that of an unslaughtered carcass, even though it's still convulsing. Rabbi Elazar says, if the thigh, the hind of the leg, was removed and its recess is obvious, what does that mean? The thigh of the hind leg is typically connected to the pelvis, where the upper section of the thigh bone is located. If the thigh bone is dislocated and the flesh is completely removed, resulting in a hole-like recess, the animal has the status of an unslaughtered carcass. From Rashi, it appears that the reference is to a complete excision of the thigh, while the Meiri explains that this is the case even when the damage is internal. But if the thigh bone surrounding flesh of an animal or bird was removed and the recess is obvious when the animal or bird is collapsed, the latter state is that of an unslaughtered carcass even if it's still alive. According to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, Rambam, Sefer Kedusha, Hilchah Shechitin 3:19, Sefer Tahara, Hilchah Shava 2:1. It is an unslaughtered carcass and imparts impurity even if it remains alive. The Gemara asks, what is the circumstance of its recess being obvious? Rabbi said, it is any situation when the animal collapses and even so its hind leg is visibly lacking. And there's a picture here of a collapsed animal. The area is visibly lacking when the leg is removed. Interesting. We learned in a Mishnah there. Oh, like 1:6 with regard to creeping animals whose carcasses are visually impure. If their heads were removed, a creeping animal is impure only after it dies. If its head was severed, even if it's still connected by its skin, and even though it is convulsing in a manner of the tail of a lizard, it is impure. In accordance with the Mishnah in Ahalot, and it was made of Rish Lakish. Rambam says the Hara Hilchah Shava 2:14 and Hilchah Tumas Meis 1:15 in the case of the Mishnah there. Even if they are convulsing, they are impure. Rashi explains that the reference in the Mishnah is to the 8 creeping animals that impart impurity when dead. Also further explaining that the reference in the Mishnah is to animals and birds, as clear from the tractate Ahalot. The Bible explains that the earlier statements excuse me refer to a case where the neck bone is broken by a blow or by a fall, in which case the animal imparts impurity because the shattering of the bones hastens its death. When the animal's head is removed, it is not considered dead until there are clear signs of death or until the head is completely removed. She did Mikkel Besses. The Ramban rejects that opinion. The Raven also said the opinion that the Yiri did not say that it is an actual unslaughtered carcass. Rather, he is saying that at that point, slaughtering an animal does not prevent it from imparting impurity when it dies. Like the tail of a lizard that was severed, that convulses even though it is not alive. Zanav Halta'a Shel Mafkeses. After a limb, e.g. the tail of a lizard is severed, its nerves continue to function for a short while in an uncontrolled manner by means of neurotransmitters that cause the muscles to contract. The neurological reactions are not necessarily a sign of life. The Gemara asks, what does meaning of term were removed? Reish Lakish said they were actually removed. It actually says that Rabbi Mani said it is like the separation of a head of the bird burnt offering. Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Rabashi, do you mean like the separation of the head of the bird burnt offering according to the rabbis who hold that in addition to the neck bone and the surrounding flesh, one does not completely sever the simonim, and then you and Reish Lakish do not disagree? Just as like the breaking the neck of the animal, since nothing remains other than the skin. Or perhaps you mean that like the separation of the head of the burnt offering, according to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, who says that one cuts the majority of the two simonim, and you and Reish Lakish disagree, and Reish Lakish holds that the animal imparts impurity only when it is completely beheaded. Rabbi Asi said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, I mean like the separation of the head of the bird burnt offering, according to Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, who says that one cuts the majority of two simonim, and we disagree. There are those who say that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said they were actually removed. Rabbi Asi said that Rabbi Mani said it is like the separation of the head of the burnt offering, according to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, who holds that one suffices with cutting the majority of two simonim. The Gemara asks, what is the opinion of the rabbis, and what is the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon? The dispute is as it is taught in a Braita with regard to a sliding scale offering, in which a poor person who cannot afford an animal sin offering brings 2 doves or 2 pigeons. One is a sin offering, one is a burnt offering. It is written, and you prepare the second as a burnt offering according to the ordinance in Leviticus 5:10, which means according to the ordinance of the animal sin offering, in whose stead the offering was brought. Do you say that it is according to the ordinance of an animal sin offering? Perhaps only according with the ordinance of a bird sin offering. The Gemara answers, when it says with regard to the bird burnt offering brought as a gift offering, and the priest shall bring it to the altar in Leviticus 1:15, meaning it should be sacrificed in a unique manner. The verse distinguishes between a bird sin offering and a bird burnt offering, and if so, how do I realize the meaning of the term according to the ordinance? It means according to the ordinance of the animal sin offering, just as the animal sin offering comes only from non-sacred animals. Menachulin, what does this mean? From non-sacred animals, one who is obligated to bring an offering, e.g. a sin offering, may not purchase the animal with second tithe money. Rather, he must purchase it with non-sacred funds. That's Ram Sefer Vode Hilchot Maaseh Korbanot 16:15 and Sefer Korbanot Hilchot Chagiga 2:8, and not from an animal purchased with second tithe money, and is sacrificed only during the day. B'yom, all offerings are sacrificed only during the day. Ram Sefer Vode Hilchot Maaseh Korbanot 4:1, and with the right hand of the priest. B'yadaha Yamanis, the priest may perform this temple service only with his right hand. If he performs the service with his left hand, the service is not valid, but he is not flogged for doing so. Rabbi Sefer Vode Hilchot Beit Mikdash 5:18. So too, a bird burnt offering comes only from non-sacred animals, and is sacrificed only during the day, and with the right hand of the priest. The Braita asks, if so, perhaps just as there with regard to an animal sin offering, the slaughter is valid with the cutting of the majority of two simonim, and the windpipe and the cord. So too here with regard to a bird burnt offering, opinion is valid with the cutting of the majority of two simonim. Therefore the verse states, and pinched off its head and burned it on the altar in Leviticus 1:15. This indicates that just as with regard to burning, the head is burned by itself and the body is burned by itself. So too with regard to pinching, it remains by itself and the body remains by itself. Harosh ba'asma v'haguf ba'asma mor oref. How was the bird burnt offering sacrificed? The priest would ascend the ramp of the altar, turn to the surrounding ledge, go to the southeast corner, pinch the nape of the bird, and separate its body from its head. If he failed to separate the head from the body, the offering was not valid. 6:20. Rabbi Shmuel says, according to the ordinance of Leviticus 5:10, which is written with regard to the sliding scale bird sin offering, meaning according to the ordinance of the bird sin offering mentioned in the previous verse, just as the bird sin offering is pinched adjacent to its nape in Leviticus 5:8 beneath the occipital bone, so too the bird burnt offering is pinched adjacent to its nape beneath the occipital bone. The Rambam apparently derives from here one must completely separate the head from the body in a bird burnt offering. Rashi derives from the Gemara early in 20b that the reference is not to total separation, rather the ceremony must be completely cut, but failure to cut the skin does not invalidate the separation. If so, perhaps just as there with regard to a bird sin offering, he pinches it and does not separate between the head and the body and leaves one simon uncut. It is stated with regard to a bird sin offering, and pinch off his head adjacent to his neck, but shall not separate. Leviticus 5:8. The verse prohibits cutting any flesh beyond that which is necessary to render the bird fit for sacrifice, which is one simon. As the Gemara derives later from 7b, therefore the phrase shall not separate, it refers to the second simon. So to here with regard to the burnt offering, he pinched and does not separate between the head and the body and leaves one simon uncut. Therefore the verse states, and the priest shall bring it, meaning that the bird burnt offering shall be sacrificed in a unique manner, not at the sin offering. But others said to Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, says, according to the ordinance, meaning according to the ordinance that is written with regard to a bird sin offering, just as there. And that's the end of the Omen. I wish you a very good day and take care. All the best. Bye.